Hi, everyone. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the following podcast belong solely to the host and its contributors. They are not necessarily the views of our employers, organizations, committees, or other group or individual.
I'm David Campbell.
And I am Jordan Bullock.
And I'm Joseph Whitney. This is Brewing with BIM,
where we talk about construction processes, technology, BIM, and beer.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Brewing with BIM. I'm Joe Whitney, and with me as always is my man Dave Campbell. What's up, Dave?
Hey, Joe. Back again, final session of AU Day 2. AU Day 2. I'm still doing it. I got it.
You got to figure out a rhyme for tomorrow.
I know, dude. I'm going to have to figure it out. I'm still not sure.
It'll come to you up with drinks.
Right? After a few drinks, I should get it. But hey, guys, I'm so excited. We have a couple excellent guests on from Modulus Construction, and I am not going to... Consulting. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
It's been a long day.
It's been a long day. And you know what? On that note, too, why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves, because I probably break it all up.
No, yeah, you got the first half right. So, Modulus Consulting.
Thank you.
We do it all now, I guess.
We do all. Well, we do have some roots in the construction industry, so that's not far off. And we service construction industry as well as the design industry and owners as well. So, we like to include everybody.
Okay.
We are BIM consultants. I can get into the details of the company in a minute. I can introduce myself first. I'm Peter Michaelsen, managing principal at Modulus. Co-founded the company in 2010, and I have been figuring out how best to service our AECO industry for the last 14 years now.
14 years this month.
Technology.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. So we will use a variety of platforms, and we're somewhat agnostic, though the reality is Autodesk is pretty dominant in this field, so most of our services
As
are...
Joe says, they're like the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
They are, yeah.
Exactly.
You're at the right conference.
And we're here at the conference, so
Yeah,
come on, let's
yeah.
just acknowledge it.
Yeah, right.
And we also do laser scanning in-house and integrate that into the services we provide as well.
Okay.
What else should I say about it?
I saw Sheena talking to the Clear Edge guy, so yeah, it was
Exactly.
good.
We
yeah.
have some connections there with those guys. We'll do a little something about myself, my background. I am a third-generation construction industry-related professional. My grandfather on both sides, actually, in construction, started construction companies, dad's in it. I'm only a second-generation drinker, though. They didn't drink the third, so there's still, and it's brewing with BIM, and I got a stronger connection history than drinking history, but I'm making up for it. I'm working hard at it.
Yeah, I'm wondering, was that prohibition that stopped that?
Teetotalers, yeah, you get it. So, things loosened up a little in the next generation. And
Well, they'll start serving drinks here in about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
No, it's only 4:50.
It's only 4?
5:30 is when they start serving.
5 o'clock somewhere.
it's it's gonna be fun. There's a lot of good things going on after you get us out.
A lot
of
of parties tonight.
What else? Worked for general contractors after going to school, doing construction management school, and then worked for Panco builders and then Webcore builders before deciding that there was an opportunity in 2010 to start a firm that was going to support the mid-size contractors and designers to be able to help them get into doing BIM and doing it well. And we thought, like, hey, this is, we saw bigger companies starting to do it. We said there needs to be somebody helping the mid-size guys get into this. And turns out it's very hard to convince folks that have never experienced a certain value add service that there's value there if they haven't experienced it. So what ended up happening is we ended up doing a lot more work with the large firms that have in-house BIM capabilities and acting as extensions of their team. And as they have overflow work, we'd step in and help out. And eventually, some of the mid-sized, smaller companies also started bringing us in, and we started supporting them as well. In terms of getting the drivers of this have long been these big projects in bigger companies, and fortunately we've been able to work with a wide variety of company sizes and project sizes. And so we can talk about a few of the fun ones later, but I'll let Sheena give some introduction of herself too.
Hi, Sheena Shook with Modulus, director at Modulus. Been with Modulus for about 6.5 years. My background is architecture, so I was doing healthcare and S&T projects straight from college for a while. Those big, large, complex things going on.
You made a lot of friends in construction early on. You're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do BIM consulting for you. What's your background? Architecture. Come on. I'm just kidding.
No, actually you find that more and more when we're running BIM coordination on behalf of our GC clients, they love that background.
Really?
They really love it. I think that there's...
I thought architecture the 4-letter word, though.
There's a certain credibility, right, that comes like when I say, okay, let's look at these clashes. How can we resolve this while maintaining design intent, right? The designers on the call are like, hey, yeah, how can we maintain design intent? That's our priority, right? And I can kind of speak to both teams in a way that really fosters collaboration and connection, and we're making the project kind of about the problem to solve and trying to do it within a construct of our own creation, right?
You're almost like Google Translate for both
yeah, man. Yeah.
Great analogy.
There you go. But that's the real value add, right? And that's why I really like working at Modulus, because we get to come in and we get to fill those gaps in the scope. We get to fill those gaps on the team, whether a really great BIM mature team is just too busy, or a sort of BIM light team is stepping into a little bit more mature of a workflow and they need just a little bit of support. Those kinds of things are super rewarding to be able to do for folks. And at the same time, sometimes we get to do like the new technology implementation. So we're doing the bread and butter stuff. We're doing it for people that know what they're doing. We're doing it for people that want to know what they're doing. And then at the same time, they're going, hey, how do we implement augmented reality? We have budget. We don't have time. We need to save time. How can this help us do that? And those things are really just a pleasure. I feel very grateful to be in the position to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's very, very, very good point. We talk about this a lot. People don't know what they don't know. And a lot of times, to your point, you have to educate people. You really have to show the value, show like what's there, help connect those dots. And once you do, a lot of times people, they love it. Like as soon as you can help them solve this problem, that's it. They're awesome. Like it's a great relationship. It's on.
Absolutely. Yeah, and to touch on something that Sheena was pointing out earlier is the diversity of backgrounds on our team has been a huge asset to have basically people with design backgrounds come in and learn how to run coordination and figure out what's a constructability issue, what's a field issue that we're not worried about solving, and then use their design knowledge to feed into that. And vice versa, how do we speak effectively to design teams if I have only ever worked on the construction side? So we cross-train each other to both do that translation and do the understanding of how is this person seeing the world? How are they seeing this project? What's important to them? What problems do I think they want me to solve? Maybe they don't even know what problems they want me to solve, but I can, from the experience that I've had, kind of predict what's going to come.
Yeah, that's where the consulting comes in, for sure. Sometimes it's straight service offering. Oh, you need a 3D model. Oh, you need a reality capture, a laser scan, scan to BIM, whatever. Those things are kind of, transactional to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But then there's there's the other piece about how do we do this? How are other people doing it?
Yeah.
How do we kind of bring those two notions together and do it the best that we can do?
Yeah, you're becoming an advisor. Like you're kind of helping them along and develop those processes. And I mean, on something like that too, you have to kind of become, to this level, you have to become a little ingrained with them to fully understand what they need, especially with what we're talking about here, BIM data, coordination, like with this level of detail, what you need in there and why, or even just when you talk about AR, MR, scanning, there's so many different processes like workflows, layout, whatever you're going to talk about. Like there's so many different ways we can go about it. you get what I'm saying here. Like we once you find that, it's, I don't know, you standardize it, you find the good, I guess I'm sorry guys.
Dave likes to go off on tangents.
I do, and I'm thinking about it like I need to stop because I'm gonna just.
You got to put a bell on me or something because I'm just like nodding to everything you're saying, but nobody, they're just listening. They have no idea I'm being so enthusiastically like in agreement with what you're saying.
We are new to the podcast thing. You gotta work with us here. Tell us if we need to be more verbal and less.
No, you guys are all good.
No,
man. You're all good.
Nodding your head yes, no comes through very clear.
You can hear it. Good.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Vigorous nodding.
I said put a bell on me. I think it would work.
I think understanding what your client's capabilities are, and maybe they don't even know that things are applicable to what the deliverable needs to be.
Sure.
Maybe they've got an idea, and maybe they have capabilities, but they don't even know that those capabilities pertain. You guys in a consulting role actually, can come in and help them save a bunch of time and money, letting them know that, hey, you can do this and use this and use this, and we can help you guys along and help you with data validity and make sure that this is feeding back into the processes.
This is the best tool to do it because it works with the tools that you have.
We've been involved with some larger projects where the engineering firm of record who pretty much owns these large projects comes out and says, hey, we need we have a contractual requirement for this. We can't mandate any processes or anything, or mandate any tools, but how can we specify processes? And that's like a consulting role. You guys would excel. I'm sure you guys do this all day. Any interesting ones that you guys have done in the past that were just like, oh, that was an aha moment?
In terms of project work or
just project work, but where a client was just like, oh my gosh, that was just the most amazing idea ever.
I got a quick one. There was a project a few years ago that a general contractor doing not a huge project, it's a relatively small school building that was being fit onto an existing school campus and had a site that they've got laid out where the building's going to go and everything. He was aware that there was a lot of site utilities that needed to run between where the new footings for this new building were going to go and the existing. And he was aware, just from his experience, not because he had ever done anything BIM related before, but just from his experience, he knew that it was probably going to be too tight to really work. And he brought us in to model it and prove it, not to himself, because he kind of already knew, but to prove it visually to the design team and the owner that it wasn't going to work.
I like that, a proof of failure.
Yeah, exactly. And that's important because then what's the solution? If you can't fit it all in, the solution was literally to move the entire school building. So the proposed, new building hadn't started digging it yet or anything, right? So it's much cheaper to move, you're moving it on paper in 3D space. Just a quick visual representation of where the problem was going to be. He was like, oh yeah, this is the best way to show it is through this tool, and it worked. And then they didn't have to move it in reality after building it. It would have been very expensive.
Now I think a huge thing, especially with what you guys are kind of talking about here, is with coordination in general. A lot of people don't talk about, but it is literally coordination of the models, not just coordination of the elements in there and clashes, but actually localizing and setting a known coordinate, shared, oh gosh, I can't even think of what I'm trying to think. A shared site, essentially. Like, you want to make sure that all of these models line up, and you want to set those standards. And a lot of companies, dude, I went out to a lot of people we talked about today, and I talk about, Joey will give me crap.
Don't name names.
I know, I'm not naming any names, but I went out to this data center project, right? And I was so surprised at the lack of coordination there for it. And I'm talking to these subcontractors that are nationwide and trying to standardize a coordination process. Like, you have to set up you have to have known points, control points, something. We have to have base points, some kind of localization set up in our project to establish this? Because if you're trying to really coordinate the different trades, you're trying to really do constructability reviews and clash, that's where it starts.
I've heard this two ways, though. So I've heard GCs like doing it, larger ones, right? So they can ensure everybody's on their coordinates, so they'll set up control points and let everybody tie into those. Then I've heard another thing where they don't like to do that because they do not want to have any of the risk. So,
I mean, in my mind, it comes from the survey.
Yes, you're right. You're right that it comes from the survey, but having points that everybody's going to use might be a survey
I get what
department
you're saying.
at a GC,
If the monument points or something like that are spaced too far apart to establish true localization on the site, yes. But I mean,
so are you saying BIM, right? You guys do a lot of BIM. BIM is a very vague term.
Broad.
It's almost as vague as digital twin, but doesn't make my ears bleed like digital twin. Sorry. But BIM can also mean, VDC, or at least that's processes that kind of feed into it. You guys are doing a lot of VDC currently, or mostly modeling? Where do you guys find the...
Like our core services. Well, I'll let Sheena speak to the digital twins until your ears do physically bleed, because
it's not going to take much.
You are looking at the vice chair of the NIBS.
It's not publicly announced.
It is not public, so you're not yet looking at a vice chair of the NIBS subcommittee. Anyway, what I was going to say is service. Our core services are modeling, coordination, running coordination. Often that's on behalf of a GC. Sometimes it's for an owner or designer, but usually GC. Model creation is typically subcontractor driven, and we'll do the variety of MEP, fire
spooling,
protection.
all that fun stuff.
We can do spooling, yep, and then of course install drawings, Trimble layout points, and
TopCon.
Let me rephrase that. Total station layout points using TopCon products.
There you go.
And yeah, of course.
He's out there having a good chuckle.
And then that one goes out to Troy Taylor. Yeah. We also then get into a few other more kind of niche things that are, for example, the AR work that Sheena's been spearheading for us on a project for Stanford Linear Accelerator, SLAC project, which is a cool one. And then certainly FM deliverables, so embedding data into Revit models,
assets,
assets, mapping, tracking, IoT.
He's going to go 4 hours.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting excited.
He's foaming
He's
at the mouth.
trying to talk about digital twins. Meanwhile, Joey's like, don't talk about digital twins.
Oh, Joey hates it, but I love it, dude. I love it.
I love
let's
scans.
not
I love
talk
point
digital
clouds.
twins.
I love models. I love assets. I don't like vague terms that people throw at, and they're like, "Yeah, we do digital twins. We do BIM. We've got a 3D representation of this water bottle in our. We do BIM. Okay, where's the data? Where's the eye? Give me that.
Okay.
So
fair.
Digital twin is on the same thing. People say we do digital twin. Meanwhile, they throw up a panoramic view from a 360 camera and say, "I've got a digital twin." You have a photo. I know it's digital. It is not a twin.
Virtual representation of a physical asset with close to or actual real-time data in it.
Yep.
This sounds like a vice chair.
That's the gist, right? So if you don't have that data feedback loop, right, and close to real time coming in, that you are then making decisions based upon, you're not leveraging a digital twin, right? You might be using like a really, really smart BIM model to make reactive decisions based on your kind of existing conditions or your record, but unless you are having real-time data coming in that you are actively drawing, learning, drawing insights from, and then making informed decisions based upon, you're not leveraging a digital twin.
I feel like you should teach a class on this. I would attend. And I feel like maybe my bias is I've been listening to a lot of product placement marketing companies out there trying to sell themselves as a digital twin solution or a digital twin service provider, but in fact, it's not to the standards. But that's a good definition. I like that.
Well, and now like you can have a digital twin that is a series of boxes. You can have a digital twin of a process, of a workflow. you don't need it. It doesn't necessarily only represent
A tangible.
Well, in my mind,
a building,
it's a true
like
as-built.
vertical construction.
It's a true as-built in that sense. Like, you're actually documenting everything that has been updated, everything that's changed inside of that building as it's built. Like that's the funny thing about about all of this in all reality. Point clouds, looking at a CD, even looking at a Revit model. Once it moves past the point of handover, it's a picture. It's not a twin anymore. That's not even really an as-built. If they do a renovation, they make a change in there, it's no longer an as-built.
Yep.
That was a point in time.
Yeah, space planning departments, and larger firms have those, but having firms like you guys come in, maybe before renovation, or after renovation, rather. And
Joey and I talk about this a lot, man. The true dream of the future, in my mind, is when you go to deliver a building, or when somebody's looking at
the true dream of the future. The true dream of the future is I get to
when
retire.
somebody's looking at purchasing a
Everybody's
building,
different dreams.
man. Yeah, right. When you're looking at purchasing a building, you want to build a building, man. Being able to actually look at how it's going to affect everything around it, or what you have inside of there and what it's capable of doing. Like, I think about all the space that we have right now. Yes, I love new construction, but again, a big movement in our country, even for the future, is going to be rebuilding. It's going to be reusing what we have, right? Repurposing it, America. But we're going to look at.
Is that a bald eagle I heard?
Right?
Soaring through the air.
Do you have the cute sound
I wish
effects?
he had the freaking
We
bald
need a
eagle sound
screaming
effect.
eagle.
That would be amazing. But I mean, it's you think about that to that degree in the sense of really smart cities, smart buildings, smart cities, having an actual as-built. When I look at this building and I can actually understand what I have, the systems that I have, hey, I want to upgrade this system because I want to have this machinery, or I'm going to do this, I want to repurpose this for this, this equipment or whatever it's going to be, and actually analyzing it, the information, right? Okay, the model is cool. Yes, it gives me visualizations, but the analysis, that is what is important. That's what I can use when making, like you said, good decisions. It's stop being reactive, like,
Right.
and making these old stale data. We need live data.
The only way we're going to get to a point where as-builts are accurate and constantly evolving automatically
Contractually.
is contractually is a whole nother,
Government.
No, actually, the government projects are actually really good.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
At pushing that. USACE has amazing BIM standards.
Yeah.
GSA does as
GIS,
well.
yeah.
Military health.
Yeah, dude.
They
all do.
The VA.
It's
I mean,
there.
come on, man.
The
There's-
VA, yes. They're
do a
on
lot of work.
version 2 of their BIM standard now.
Yeah.
We do a lot of work with them. No, it's put you're gonna have to hard mount technology in every room, and they moved a wall, update the model. It's got to be a constantly evolving process, rather.
You
where
act like we don't have cameras in most places anyways nowadays.
are in your pocket at all times.
I mean, no, even just surveillance
Somebody's
cameras and things like that in
watching.
most businesses and establishments. We have cameras. It's commonplace.
Yeah, that's
Why
true.
can those cameras not document the changes that are going on and update a model in the background?
Well, that's interesting because we have IoT sensors for everything.
Exactly,
Yeah.
dude. Why can we not have this living model in the background, in the cloud, wherever it's got to be, living on this server that gets updated? It's like a scan to BIM kind of process, but it's updating this model in real time. We have sensors connecting, actually sending data, and it's living.
We're geeking out about the future. You guys are actually doing cool stuff, though.
Yeah,
and not like living in our dream reality.
Your dream reality is not that far off. I mean, there's a couple of key components there, right? Like you're talking about owners asking for certain things and being ready for that.
Owners are becoming more educated. That is key.
I wouldn't even say more educated. I think that the
So
rest
they're
of
becoming
us
dumber?
are finally stepping up, right? The industry is finally stepping up and through the hype. And
Yes.
so it's not on owners to become more educated or to spend their money differently. It's on us in the industry to kind of come through with all of the snake oil salesman promises over the last decade of hype.
You
And to
said
go,
that with such conviction.
this is the real value. This is what you can really do now. This is where you're at. This is where you're trying to be.
Yeah.
And these are the 4 or 5 key steps to get there.
Yep.
And you touched on contracts, super important. Super important, because if they don't have the contract with their design team and their construction team that procures as-built updates so that when day one handover happens, they have an accurate representation of day one, and then they also have the data that they need for those maintainable assets day one, we're not going anywhere.
Yep.
We're like without a paddle.
Yeah.
So that part you got to do. And once you have those, then you can start having that conversation about, okay, how do we then do change management? And change management is something that permeates all of the departments when you start talking about leveraging BIM into FM and operations and eventually achieving a digital twin.
Yes.
There are whole master's degrees on change management.
Right, because you have to, simultaneously, you've got areas of your campus that are updating. How are we going to integrate that? We've got data that's changed. So even if the geometry didn't, we've got assets that may be switched, turned over.
Yep.
And we've got projects that are happening simultaneously. When do we release? What are people basing their campus decisions on?
Yeah.
You have to sit down and kind of talk about that, and that really requires different departments talking to each other and understanding where their information is coming from, where it's going to live, and how they're going to consume it.
Yeah, true collaboration.
Yeah, and they have to be able to kind of have those conversations to move to a collective next level.
Yeah.
And it's between sort of capital improvements and facilities and maintenance folks. Like when those guys get together and collaborate, that's when we see real push, real leveraging of the value that's there.
Yeah, Jolie and I could talk about the value of, like, if you look at it from a maintenance level, the value of BIM, of a digital twin, right? For a maintenance team, being able to put on VR goggles or being able to see like all of the pipes, being able to see the flange, being able to click on something and
knowing how to repair something.
Well, knowing how to repair it, explode it, see what, this gasket needs to be replaced, but taking it further, right? Actually connecting that to the asset management system, to what we have in stock for, knowing that this was last replaced on this date. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead. I'm going to use this gasket, so we need to order another one. Like connecting all of that together. But if you have the end users in mind, like how this data will affect everyone. Like we were talking about this with Build earlier in a construction project. When you get into using a software, a platform, a common data environment, right? You need to think about how all of the stakeholders that are getting into that information are going to utilize it, how they're going to access it, visualize, what levels of data they'll need, different things like that. It's kind of the same thing. It is with BIM in a different way, right? In that level of data, you're going to think about how it translates, not just for construction, but again, facilities management. Like, how can this data be used all the way downstream? And then how can we tie that back? Dude, it's so awesome to see when we see the forwardness of it, like to be able to equip anybody with that technology, to be able to, put that in someone's hands and they can visualize it. I think of SolidWorks, that's what I got into back in the day, and you'd be able to explode all the different parts, watch the screws come out. Like, man, showing that to someone in maintenance, like these are the steps that you need to go through. This is what you'll need to remove. Here it is. Yep. Dude, it's so valuable. It is. It's insane.
Well, and there's tools out there right now, right? Especially augmented reality tools.
Yeah.
Historically, they've focused on design and construction visualization, right?
Yep.
But there are platforms out there now that are really focusing on operations for that kind of stuff. And we're talking about, yes, you can visualize design and construction models in this platform, but you can also visualize your metadata blended with your as-built model. You're seeing digital assets on top of physical assets. You're able to click on them, able to see the metadata, the asset
actually
specification information.
Dude.
It's there, but now you can also do workflows.
Yeah.
So you can click on this thing and say, I need to start a task. This needs this reactive maintenance piece, or I need to start a work order. You can have a video call with someone in that mixed reality environment.
That's
so
awesome.
You can be the person that doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
Your main facilities guy is 200 miles away going, hey, open that cabinet, flip that switch, close the cabinet, and please leave the building.
Yeah.
Don't do anything else.
Yes. Yep.
And those things are now a possibility with the tools that are out there.
Yeah.
And they're happening right now. And they're doing it in an environment where we don't have to worry about all this configuration stuff that's happening in the background.
Yeah.
Right? It's graphic user interface.
Yeah.
Click, point, click, point. Like those things are out there right now, and we're actually, we're getting really close to be able to sign the contract and get that implemented on our Slack project, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
Because then the conversation is like, okay, how tight can we make this mixed reality model to reality?
Yeah.
So what kind of tolerance do we need to have a high level of confidence for installing these highly sensitive pieces of equipment or whatever? Like, is it half inch okay? Is quarter inch okay? What are we talking about? How tight can we make this? And it's not about interoperability anymore. It's not about the whole configuration thing. Now we're seeing it. We're using QR codes. We're tying the geometry together, and we're going, okay, what kind of slip are we talking about here? We got a half inch? Okay.
So QR codes to fix the drift?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tighten it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how often do you need to have those? And those are the use case things that are happening now that you can really kind of work out.
Yeah, we had a Visual Live on our podcast. They were acquired, but Unity, I think.
Yeah.
On the podcast, I don't know, 30 or so episodes back.
Yeah.
But one of the workflows I was excited for is actually getting to those installation layout really tight tolerances, but the drift was an issue, and it seems like maybe we're getting closer to, you're saying half-inch tolerances. That might suffice. If we're talking about something that doesn't need to be super fine, a hanger or something, a half inch isn't the end of the world.
Yeah, if you're visualizing or trying to visualize what's been installed, it hasn't gone in basically per plan, and not trying to say, okay, I need to lay this out as though I was laying it out with a total station. You're not looking for that level of precision. Then it's a great tool.
Yeah.
Construction progress.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, actually,
verification.
Well, we were talking about that
And
earlier. It's been a
week look ahead.
Dude,
Yeah.
yes, exactly, right? So that's actually been a big topic, a consistent topic, this AU, that we've had over all of our podcasts has been, progress tracking, man. I feel like a point cloud can be used so much better. Like, there's so much that can be used in this sense. And, I do a lot of, build cost implementations. I kind of started tying it all together and realizing, the full scope of how this affects your project, right? And if we're looking at, progress tracking, and we're looking at the point cloud, and we know overall we have this awesome BIM model, it's been, we have this much lineal feet of duct or pipe or cable tray, conduit, whatever it is, and we can scan, and it doesn't need to be perfect. And we don't even, the tolerance is
What if you don't even
great.
need to scan? You're
Photogrammetry, right? We're talking about cameras, dude. Yep. And seeing and knowing, okay, we have about 10 feet, 12 feet. Overall, we need 120 feet. We're about 10% done. We're 15% done. Tie that back to the pay apps, man. I mean, honestly, when we can start to automate that process, obviously you got to establish trust because, pay apps, it's money, right? But at the same time, we have to establish that trust with a subcontractor that's coming to us and saying, we're billing you this much. Somebody has to go out and physically verify that work has been done.
We're
right?
a one-track record. We just want to keep talking about progress tracking. We love it so much.
I'm not, dude. I mean, it's funny because you're seeing a lot of tools pop up. To your point, Sheena, there's so many tools that are now popping up to share this. And I'm seeing man, this is crazy. This is a time, what a time to be alive. I can't wait.
What an event to be at.
What an event to be at, 100%,
to see all
dude.
what everybody's been working on.
Yeah, but I can't wait till this comes full circle, brother, as all these other pieces that we're now bringing in, QA, QC, asset management, cost tracking.
But that's the other thing that we've been doing more of lately, which is so great, but that quality assurance on behalf of owners.
Yeah, dude, exactly.
So doing that we're talking about entire parcels.
Yeah.
Huge 37 parcel kind of campuses where we're being asked, hey, can you take a look at the models coming in, and can you vet and make sure that this has been delivered based on our standard?
Yeah.
And not being able to sit in that role and do more of that work has been really great as well. Because checking it is important. Validating it
enforcing standards
is important. I think that you pay the money to invest to create the standard, and then you gotta, you're checking it to make sure that it was actually delivered that way.
Yeah. Well,
data validation is my issue with AI at the moment. Are you guys implementing any AI into your processes?
Oh yeah, I use it every single day. The thing that's really interesting to me, right, is where where is the value add for the folks that we do work for right now? So in terms of AI and machine learning, I think the ones that have really graduated sort of to the point where people should really be looking at adopting it more is when we get into things like the modeling from point cloud, the semi-automated and automated modeling that's happening with the point cloud tools out there.
BIM, so to speak.
Those tools, like they have the automated processes, right? They can model from the point cloud, and then they have some of them are they're a little bit challenging. So you got to do it. It's more of a semi-automated to vet as you go along to get that modeling done. But that is where the really great machine learning has stepped up, I think, and is ready for people to actually start leveraging, right? Because it's putting you in the position of just checking and validating and going, yes, that's a pipe. No, sorry, that's not a pipe. That's a conduit.
Yeah.
But I don't have to size it anymore. The machine learning algorithm already sized it, and it got the slope, and it best fit it. You know, otherwise I would have drawn 16 sections to do that part. And so there's savings there.
Yeah.
And now you're also taking a process that's super tedious. You've got really skilled individuals that you're putting through the ringer.
Yeah.
When you're talking about modeling from a point cloud. And now instead of putting them through the ringer, you're putting them in a position to use the expertise and the knowledge that they have to go, yes, that's right. No, that's wrong. Yes, that's right. No, that's wrong.
You sound like you're speaking from experience, having been put through the ringer, having a model for point clouds.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
is anybody else like,
Notice
it's
nuts,
pain,
dude. The scarring.
It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Your voice. Yeah.
I mean, especially if it's a big point cloud, because you got to wait for it to render, and you're trying to navigate around and make sure. And then there's the snap points. You got to turn your snap off because then it's snapping to everything, and
Just go cross-eyed.
Yeah, dude, it's insane.
Zooming in.
Yep. Trying to make sure that when you take measurements, But I mean, I think I want to touch on one of your other points there, because Sheena, you mentioned we don't have enough AI like tools for our client, right? And if you think about it, like, I mean, to your point, like, we are having AI tools that will help us deliver data better, faster. But you know, it's funny, but one of the other guys here, Jerem, on our team, he has more of a financial, like, accounting background, and to kind of your point there, like, we start finding different people with different backgrounds. You start finding different ways to consult and different, tools that will benefit. And going back to your point here, like, he brought up a point with depreciation schedules in buildings. When you turn over a building, generally, for the owner, they know the equipment that they get installed, lights, everything like that, will have a depreciation over the course of time that they can then write off on their taxes. Typically, they have to have a consulting company that will come in, look at their BIM model, and then translate that, or walk through their building, right, to translate that and give them this data that says, over this course of time, this is what you can write off. Why can't we use AI to start to streamline that? We have the BIM models.
Got the commissioning warranty.
We have the warranties. We have all of that data, man. You're completely right. Like, AI needs, yes, I get it, to start saving us time, but at the same time, I feel like it needs to work for the client too. We have all this data. Why should they have to pay somebody else, or why can't we incorporate that into our deliverable based on, and I'm not saying that you got to know, I mean, AI knows. AI is able to look this up. I looked it up. I did it on ChatGPT. I went through my budgets, took a Revit model. I had it, go through and give me, based off of 5, 10, 15, I think up to 35 years. And it gave me this full depreciation schedule. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dude, if we can get this into our models, at least as you're doing that LOD, where it's beneficial to establish that, yeah, dude, that's a schedule inside of Revit, man. Why can't we tie this into it and start delivering that as to our owner, like giving more value?
Service for your owners.
Yeah, dude.
But the quality of the data that you are basing your AI decisions on has to be there. So again, we come back to the quality of the information.
Yeah, garbage in, garbage out.
In the model that you're basing
AI is full of a lot of garbage right now.
It's
train it, dude. No, I know what you're saying, but that's why you got to train your own model, bro. I mean, I know it takes time, but I know we want everything now, but
I need it now.
You can't have your cake and eat it too, brother. We got to educate a little first, and then we use it. Because if you don't educate it right,
cake, can I have a cookie and eat the cookie? That's all I want.
Give me a brookie, man. Give me a friggin' brookie.
Simple man, simple needs.
I trained some AI modules, and having issues with ChatGPT's data validity, analyzing, getting repeatable aspects out of, repeatable analysis out of it. So I know I'm a little negative on it. I'm hard. I want things to work. And
Still
work
learning,
100%
man. It's a
all the
baby.
time.
It's a baby AI.
It's a toddler.
It's baby AI.
Baby
It's
AI.
a toddler. Yeah, you're
Baby
right.
AI, yeah.
Baby AI. We'll get there.
But it's you're on the right track. I mean, and it's important to realize that that human validation of what you're getting out of it is important. As soon as we get lazy and be like, just let it do its thing and don't check it, that's when you get all kinds of trouble.
Yeah.
All
You
kinds
guys,
of trouble.
you use Bluebeam, right?
Sure.
Do you use I always use this example, Bluebeam's visual search.
Oh yeah.
I have, yeah. Mhm.
How many toilets are in here? Oh, it missed one.
Yeah. Yep.
Gotta go back and figure it out.
Absolutely.
That's not BIM though, but that's not BIM. That's a PDF. In BIM, I get what you're saying.
PDFs can be a part of
But
BIM.
same applies, right?
Yes.
You could have had an architect use one family for
Oh,
that
that's
type
true,
of
and
thing
the
one way,
annotation's
and then-
different.
and then-
Yeah,
annotations.
that's very
maybe
true.
the family itself is different.
That's
and
true,
All of a sudden,
yeah.
it's not picking it up in your scheduled values.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good point.
This is the boss's
Good point.
toilet. It's
but that's
fancy.
garbage in, garbage out. And if you set standards, man, we have to. Like that's kind of the other point too. Like we have to set those standards,
Yes.
naming standards, attribute metadata standards. Like it has to be there. And to your point earlier, guys, like whether it's integrations or it's data mapping. For data mapping in general between different platforms, no matter where it's going downstream, we need to think about the translation of that data from one to the other, and it has to be standardized. Otherwise, trying to manage those processes, it's insane trying to manage that data back and forth, transforming, oh, well, this is this.
David's getting PTSD.
I do, dude. Oh, my God.
He's served in a few wars, been blown up, but this is what gives him PTSD.
Have you
That's your
looked
face.
into using your Chat GPT to help you with your data mapping?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, like-
yeah.
Eventually, right? It'll be at a place where we can do that.
Yes.
And crosswalking using AI
Yep.
and knowing what the prompts are to get it to crosswalk,
Yes.
map that data correctly. Like
Yep.
those things will matter. And so at some point there will be less pressure on everyone using the same data schema,
Yeah.
right? Because you'll be able to ask AI like, hey, can you find everything that looks like a door?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you find everything that is a door?
Yeah.
How do ask me questions about how you're making your decision about what doors are, and let's just have a quick conversation about that.
Yep.
And then can you go
Exactly.
Yeah.
and
That's
find
a
the
good-
door?
That's a great
important.
point.
That's
Every
important.
time I approach ChatGPT, I'll start with a question like, "Hey, do you have a good understanding of the ASTME 1155 floor flatness and levelness?" And I'll wait for it to give me an approach. And now I will also read through you because you have to give it feedback.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it will just tell you like, "Oh yeah, well this is this." No, well, what about this? And
Find
then
myself
it'll
saying no more than that's
yeah,
right.
well, like I said, dude, you got to teach it. But it's getting there, right? I mean, and even
I
then,
already have 3
the
kids.
data
I don't
is
have
usable.
patience to teach anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I got 5,
I don't
brother.
have an education degree.
I do not.
Y'all don't want to stack up kids against Sheena. She'll be.
yeah.
Well, I will say that creating standards for owners and entities that are going to need them is a service that we've been doing for a long time, and the more buy-in we get from the broader team, because often there's a lot of stakeholders in these things, be it Google or Imagineering or even Stanford has between the scientists and everybody working on all these very complicated projects. Having somebody that's responsible for getting with all of these different parties, getting what's important to them, coming up with a standard that they all agree can be followed.
Yes.
And some people have to be pushed, and they don't want to follow it, but you got to get the top-down push.
Yep.
Is the start of getting quality data and being able to use it in effective ways.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, one story I love about Slack I got to tell real quick. The linear accelerator is 2 miles long of this beam line that's 40 feet underground because there's radiation that is accelerating these particles at nearly the speed of light, and doing all kinds of cool experiments that there are there's a bunch of Nobel Prizes have been won at this facility from research being done. And so we had to get, she and I trained on the safety protocol for being able to go down into this tunnel, and it was extensive, long in-person training, and they show us all like the switches, and it was like the old school nuclear bomb type switch where you two people got to turn the key at the same time, and all these safety things just to make sure no one gets left down in the tunnel when the beam comes back on.
Yeah.
And I was so fascinated. I was like, I got to ask to the guy that's doing the training, been working there forever. It's like, obviously, I assume no one's been down there when the beam's been on. He's like, right, but is there a theory as to what would happen to a person? Like, would your skin melt? You become like the Incredible Hulk? What is? There's got to be something that. Like, he was like, well, probably you would eventually, years down the line, get some cancer. I was like, what? Oh, that. Really?
Yeah, that
I'm
sucks.
gonna get cancer anyway.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna go eat some sugar, I guess. Yeah.
You've got a 33% chance already, man.
This seems like a lot. Very, very cautious.
Yeah.
But I can understand.
Well, that's a catastrophic failure that you're not going to come back from, right?
True.
Like, and that's the thing. When you guys started kind of talking about some of the things about the IoTs and the sensors and digital twin or not digital twin and like all that stuff, right? Like those cases where you can tie it to a real issue that a facility has been through, right? And you tie it to a real use case.
Yeah.
And if you have this sensor, this moisture sensor, 2 inches above the floor, if it gets wet, you're going to get a notification.
Yep.
Right? And at the same time, if you have a smart enough model, you'll then also know where the shutoff is.
Yes.
Ooh,
Right?
yeah.
Which can save thousands of dollars.
Yes.
It's the difference between knowing where your shutoff is and being able to go in and turn it off, or 8 hours later, getting that guy out of bed and then and then getting the shutoff.
Yep.
Like those are the real use case justifications. And you don't want to scare people into it, but you find out from your teams, like, what are you guys actually facing? What are your actual problems? What are your actual issues that keep you up at night?
Yeah.
And when you ask those questions, then you can start tying the sort of the hype cycle kind of stuff to the real use case that can really help with implementation and motivating people to kind of go, okay, no, you're right, like this is worth it, and there's real value here.
Influence change. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's about real people and the issues that they face and making their everyday a little less intense.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I use that in all of my implementations. I mean, the experience that I get from implementing build, implementing cost, each individual GC, specialty contractor, subcontract, any firm that I work with, each one of them I learn something from. And with that, you can take that and help consult and say, oh, you know what, actually on a previous project, I've done this with, pushing out subcontracts, tracking expenses, whatever it is.
Or they might even come to you and say, well, that makes sense on those projects, but here's why this is the issue I'm having now, and understanding their why, so you can adapt. I like that instance of tying your model back to your sensors. I mean, I've seen, a lot of the big hype around sensors in Revit models, but I've never actually understood that was very clear. There's that. I'm wondering if that was like a lesson learned from a client. They were like, you know what, we need a sensor, and we want to know where that valve is because this has actually happened before.
No, those are the use cases. I mean, they've even got like rat catchers now that because before you'd have a whole team that deploys these. Rat population in New York is a big problem.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you tell she's in New York?
Yeah. And when you have a use case, I learned this from a buddy of mine over at ROI Consulting. So he's the one that told me about these rat traps that are kind of smart rat traps, because you used to have to send somebody out on a shift essentially and kind of check them. But now they'll let you know.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh.
Yeah, those sensors are cheap too.
And like, that's a use case.
Yeah.
And that made the difference for people, because now you don't have a guy on a full shift. You have somebody that's sitting in a central location that's going out when they're getting tripped.
Yeah.
And then you can also see, well, why are 4 of them tripping at this one location?
Yeah.
And why are they tripping multiple times? And you'd be able to track that and gain insights and kind of do something with that information now. But there are those kinds of things out there too that are just
100%.
totally straightforward. Keep it simple. These are the real everyday problems that are being solved with sensors. And there's some pretty accessible sensors out there.
Oh,
right
yeah.
now.
Yeah, there are.
Play with a lot of sensors like limit switches and moisture control, pedometer stuff, or not, potentiometer, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of cool, and they're all very cheap. They're all insanely cheap. They're pennies in comparison to having a big module for doing stuff. Add a little IoT, Bluetooth, or Wi-Fi receiver to it. Connect it up, and integrate it into your IFT platform or something.
You can even just look at what you have already, right? Like so many of the use cases right now are about, hey, we have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And, you know, how many people are logging in the router and how many people are using it, and just tracking based on that even. And starting small and going, okay, how many different departments do we need to have a conversation with to kind of get everybody on board for leveraging this?
Yeah.
Where's that information going to live? How is it going to be consumed?
Yep.
And what decisions are we going to make based on the information that we have in front of us right now?
Yeah.
That right there is the pattern that you have to develop and then apply as you grow into other pieces of information or other sensors or whatever. But you need to develop a way to be able to go, okay, here's the data.
Yeah.
We're gathering it, we're learning our data. Now we're gonna draw some insight. What kinds of insights? Where are the efficiency gains? How can we leverage this information to make better decisions?
Yeah.
And then actually make those decisions.
Yeah.
And once you can do that, that's when you can kind of actually start to expand, like,
Yeah.
and into other areas.
You got to plan it out, right? You got to think about how it's going to affect it, or how it's going to affect you as a whole. Like you said, the different stakeholders that need access to it. You have to have a good plan of what you're going to do, and then you roll it out according to that plan.
Well, solving simple problems and then making the data accessible.
Yeah, dude. Well, I mean, you try rolling things out without a plan, especially with data involved. It's just nuts, because then you get a whole bunch of data. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, you just get a whole bunch of data at that point. People are overwhelmed, and they get disruption. People don't want to get into it, or you really just don't even know what to do with all of the data, or it's not right. It's just ridiculous. It's insane.
Yeah, we could go off on 4-hour tangents, though. By the way, especially this gentleman right here.
Yeah.
He's literally been talking all day, though.
I've been talking all day now.
Killing it with presentations and doing a bunch of stuff. That said, though, you guys clearly put a lot of thought into what you do. Definitely providing a value to owners and the GCs and everybody that you're working with. These simple solutions that you guys actually get to implement, and yes, there are these deliverables that you just have to get done, like modeling and stuff, where it's a direct output. But actually being strategic. Sheena, you're very well educated in this. You put a lot of thought.
Very well spoken. I thank you guys really for coming on. Both of you guys. I mean, it's been awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, this has been a great conversation.
Like a vice chair of something.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, we got to keep our eyes peeled.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but no, seriously. I mean, honestly, this is a great conversation. We don't get into this level of depth quite often with, even with BIM. A lot of people will talk about OmniClass. We'll talk about different workflows, shared parameters, collaboration, and we'll talk about a big reason about why you should have the eye in your model. But not a lot of people are taking it to that degree where we can bring in the IoT. We actually, we're really as-builting, creating the digital twin. People will talk, tandem. Tandem's a great tool.
What we're saying is we're dumb apes, and we're humbled by you guys.
Yeah, dude, it's been great.
Well, for us, it's all about make it practical, right? Make it real. If we can not just talk jargon, but use these tools for solving real problems for our clients, that's what keeps us going. That's what excites us. We want to make sure that coming from very practical backgrounds of building and designing, we want to make sure these tools apply to actually better, building better buildings, designing better buildings, and so that's.
Well, and I like a lot of your guys' points on you're really supporting the owners, you're supporting the clients. Sheena, you've said it kind of over and over again during this podcast. I think it's amazing because I don't think it's something we think about often. We're always trying to save ourselves time and trying to save our money, but in the all reality, the owner's buying it. They're funding all of this, and they're going to fund other projects, right? So at the end of the day, we need to think about how we can best deliver to them and how all of this is going to affect them. And I think that's a big thing in what you guys do.
Yeah,
that
we
makes
have to
me
step
happy.
up. We really have to step up. And we can't just put it all off on owners need to do this and owners need to do that. It's like they're relying on us in the industry, right, to bring our insights, to bring the knowledge, and to bring that advice.
Yeah.
And to do so in a way that that they can trust and rely upon.
Yes.
And how are you going to do that if you're kind of more hyping your own angle?
Yep.
And so you do have to take the time to understand, because every owner is a little different.
Yes.
And you can't deliver a cookie cutter.
No.
This is not the way that it is.
Yep.
And now that's the thing that I'm excited about with the tools that are out these days is like they're better, flexible, more agile, and leveraging AI into your processes, right? You can start to kind of really capitalize and meet those owners where they're at and stop asking owners to be here.
Yeah.
No. That's not it. It's not that owners need to be here.
No.
It's they are where they are, and we're going to meet them where they're at. And we're going to help them kind of cross that troll bridge, right, over to what they really are trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Because we're all in this for the right reasons. Like let's say we are, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
so,
I am. You guys are, right? Yeah. So we all
Reluctantly,
right
they
here.
agree.
I can confirm. I don't know everybody else. I can confirm here. We're all in it for the right reasons, and I think that you got to make sure to talk that message and make sure that the owners feel like that. And you have to be able to do that with a level of competency. You have to know your tools.
Yes.
So Peter, earlier you said a great point. You were talking about delivering value, providing value to your customers, and it was the larger customers that saw the value. When you're providing value as your service, it sounds like you guys have vastly expanded, and a lot of people are putting a lot of faith in you guys these days, because brilliant minds like Sheena are coming out and saying these, I won't even say the revolutionary, just commonplace things that we should have already been saying. Like, you don't need to change. We'll figure out how to get you there, and we'll meet you where you're at. That's beautiful and simply put.
Yeah, finding the smartest, best people in the business is what we've been fortunate to do. So, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, bringing value to our clients with technologies, that's the mission statement right there. So that's what we're here to do.
Now, we like to wrap up with generally a question about, we kind of talk, obviously through AU, we've talked about BIM, a lot of the things that you guys have seen today. What big trends or things at AU that are you guys seeing now that you're excited for the future?
I would say that there is a lot of potential for AI to be better. Like you're saying, we're seeing the kind of the toddler AI, and it fumbles a bit, and it's got a lot of limitations on how we can implement it in our day-to-day. I think as that progresses, it's progressed so quickly.
So fast
in the last
already.
Couple years. That you got to imagine at that rate, if it continues at that rate, we'll be seeing things that are going to not just like aid us, but really be able to do the vast majority of,
to automate,
crank out model creation at a whole new level.
The laborious, tedious stuff that we don't have time to do.
Exactly. So I'm
modeling
excited to see
from point clouds.
detailing.
I'm ready. Like,
you ready?
Like,
and frankly, even
we're very
photogrammetry.
close. I think. Yeah. No, photogrammetry is great. 3D Gaussian splatting, all that. But I think that's the thing for me is like I think we're really close to seeing some real breakthrough with the automated modeling from point clouds.
Yeah.
That's going to bring real value for people to what is kind of what has been a bloated price thing for a while. We need to really focus the tools there and bring some real value and bring that cost down. Because once we bring that cost down, once we can start converting point clouds to models, all this other stuff becomes so much more accessible.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the thing I'm keeping an eye on. And then, horizontal construction infrastructure, all of that stuff.
There's a lot of changes there.
There's changes there, but that's the great thing. It's like we've been doing that stuff for years already.
Yeah.
And to see it now, people having real conversations about the horizontal, getting their horizontal coordinated to the same degree that their vertical is.
Yeah.
And those folks that have been coming to us for vertical for years are now coming to us for horizontal. It's so great.
Yeah.
It's so great because that stuff's out there too. And when you mess up an auxiliary water supply or a stormwater management system, those are $1 million mistakes too.
Dude. Yeah.
And so those things, helping our clients, like cost avoidance on those things is huge.
Yeah.
If Troy hasn't already offered it, come out to our Livermore campus.
Yes,
And
I've heard about this legendary place.
It's Disneyland for construction. well-coordinated sites using CAD files and positioning and all that sort of stuff, getting into the automation side of things with big, heavy machinery.
Big kid toys.
And then actually using the sensors that are attached to the equipment to track positioning, what they're doing, how long they're running, how much fuel.
Moved, how much you've moved, carbon emissions, all of it. Just everything.
Actually, increasing, dude. Yeah, we've been
fun
getting
stuff.
really into
The
that
professionals
dashboarding it.
digger land, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yep.
Yeah.
Progress tracking for horizontal. Yeah.
We love messing with stuff. That's fun.
Yeah.
Well, and those are the those are the parts in the market that are going to be busy next
Yes.
year, right?
Oh yeah,
100%.
100%.
And so like those folks that are out there, knowing that they can come to us now that they're like, okay, we're going to have to diversify, we're going to have to get different projects, but that we're there to support them in that because we've already been doing it for a while. It's so gratifying to be able to kind of see the relief on people's faces when they know that we've got their back.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for
Oh,
joining
thank you
us.
guys.
Yeah,
This has been
Joey,
so
David,
much fun.
appreciate it.
Fun,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've loved it.
And
We normally could do this for like 4 hours, and we have.
you literally have.
Yeah, you guys
Yeah.
have
There's usually alcohol involved. I have seen people walk by with beers, so I think it is that time.
Oh, 'tis the time.
Tis the time.
Beers.
Let's get to the brew part of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
podcast. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.